Hi, my name is Jill K. Berry, and I'm here to talk to you about this project I'm going to do for Valentine's Day, and it features the products of ColourArte, which are, in this case, Twinkling H2Os, which are watercolors that have mica and minerals in them, and they make these shimmering, wonderful layers. And then silk acrylic glazes, which come in the same colors as the Twinkling H2Os, but these are polymer-based, and they also have mica and minerals. And so they will act as a resist because it has a plastic base, whereas the watercolors will not. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to make a Valentine using these combinations of paints, and it folds out like that. So the first thing you want to do is go onto my blog, jillberrydesign.com/blog, and you're going to download this PDF file. This is the pattern to make the book, and then some lettering ideas for later. So you're going to cut out the pattern, and then you have this. And then you're going to cut out a paper that fits that pattern that still has the, just a rectangle of paper. You're going to fold the rectangle in half. And you're going to use this as a pattern to cut out the curves at the top. All right, and now you have this. Then you're going to once again fold this out. You're going to use a pen, and you're going to emboss this heart shape onto the paper. Now, part of this, as you can see from the pattern, not that one. You can see from this one where the dotted line, you want to leave a hinge. You don't want to cut the whole thing out. You do want to cut out most of it. So I'm going to use a pencil then and see my embossed lines, which you won't be able to see, but I can. And draw that heart in. And I'm going to leave a little part of it here undone where I'm not going to cut it out. And that's going to be my hinge. I like to cut things out pulling the cutting tool toward me. I feel like it's a way that I can keep it a little more accurate. All right, so there you have your little heart flap, and we're going to leave it like that. So now the first thing we're going to do is to get a palette and get our stencils. I have these stencils from Artist Seller, and they are X's and O's, which look like hugs and kisses to me for Valentine's Day, so I'm going to use that for the background of my paper. And I'm going to use Pink Anthurium Silk Glaze, which is the acrylic glaze, and I'm going to use a dauber. So I'm going to put a little bit of this silk glaze here on my palette. I want to use this really dry with the stencil, because if it's too wet, then it'll just make smushy marks, and I don't want that. So I'm going to do some of the X's, but not all of them. And I don't care if I get a little extra, that just adds texture. That's fine with me. Put a big X there. And then I like to have some going off the edges. And then I'm going to use the same paint and do the O's. So it looks like somebody kissed all over this paper with pretty red lipstick. Like I said, it doesn't matter if there's smudgy marks on here because it all adds to the texture. Whoop. All right, I think that's enough. Maybe one little tiny O over there. And I'm not going to paint the heart right now. I'm going to leave that alone. So I might get a little X right close to it. Okay. Then I'm going to let this dry completely before I do the next layer. Okay, the next layer is going to be Twinkling H2Os, and I have here Northern Lights, Jasmine, and those are the ones I'm using for right now. I want a soft paintbrush and some paper towel just to daub around things and to add some texture. Now normally you want to activate these with water for a few minutes because they're very hard. And I'm just going to paint right over the top of this with just nice washes. I don't need to go real thick. I just want to add a little bit of Valentine color to these and see how the underneath is not moving at all because it's acrylic and this is watercolor over the top. So this is super loose. And I want to have a little contrast, so I'm going to focus on the pink on that side and I think more purple and blue on this side. And again, I'm not going to paint the heart. But I do want to paint right up next to it, so you can pull it out like this and just get the part around if you want. See how lovely they mix together? They're just lovely together. So, like I said, I wanted to get this one more purpley on this side. So another thing I'm going to do, just to add a little contrast. So so it's going to be more purpley on this side and pinker on that side, so when they come together you'll see the contrast. Then I have a little bottle of alcohol, and I'm going to spray that just to add a tiny bit of texture. And you can see what it did is it adds these little dots. This is pretty wet, so it won't add much, but it will add a little tiny bit of texture. And then I'm going to let this completely dry. After it's totally dry, I'm going to go back in with my same stencils that I used, and I'm going to use them this time with iridescent red. Now you're going to use those same stencils, and I'm not worrying about what they're hitting underneath. They're going to just add a little bit of texture. You may be able to see that it does in fact make a red color, but it's iridescent, so it's tinted red, but that's about it. And it just adds a shimmery layer. I think of these paints as sort of being like what seashells look like, layers of luminescent color. And that's why I like them. All right, so now there we are, and we're going to let this layer dry completely. All right, now I'm going to paint the heart, and this doesn't have to be super precise. I'm going to use the same red, well, it's a dark pink that I used for the stencils that are underneath. And actually you can take a piece of paper and just slip it under here, and then you don't have to worry about that heart getting anything on anything else. All right, I left a little tiny bit. Sometimes the little edges show and you want to paint those. Okay, so now I'm going to let this dry completely. I'm done with my stencils and I'm done with my paints. So I can put those all away. And now I want to pull out my marking pens. In this case, I'm using two Posca markers, a white one and a purple one, and I have a Tombow that's blue. I'm going to outline the heart a little bit, again putting a piece of paper under here because it lost its definition right around this edge here. And I want it to have definition, but I don't want it to be really bold, so I'm going to smudge it around. So now we're going to score this score here, which is a 45-degree fold, and the easiest way to do that is to just mark it, and it's going to go down to here. So it's going to go from here to here. So I'm going to score it like that. Okay, now you're going to fold it into a valley fold, which is a peak that is going down. So you're going to see the white side and the back side, and you can paint this too if you want to. Okay, I've got my scores, my 45-degree score, my score down the middle, and then it's going to fold this middle going down to line up the side here, and then the little heart keeps it latched. And you can see all the layers in there. Can you see all the layers in there? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is write my Valentine, and that is just the lettering part. And for this, on the PDF that you can download, I gave you some sizing that will fit in there, and some, things that you can write if you want to. I'm just simply going to write my Valentine, and I'm using a white Posca marker. Now, I don't know about you, but the paint markers, I always seem to have to go over them twice, no matter what the brand. But then I'm going to show you something else to make it show up a little better. While that is drying a little bit, I'm going to write my message on the inside. I love you. So I have a Tombow marker, but you can use a Pitt marker. You can use any kind of marker that you have in your studio. And I'm just going to add a little bit of a drop shadow on these letters to help them stand out a little more. All right, I'm all done with my Valentine with ColourArte products, Twinkling H2Os, and silks. And there is my Valentine project for you today. This is Jill K. Berry, and my website is jillberrydesign.com. My blog is there. You can go there to get the downloadable PDF and all the sources for all the materials I used today. Thank you for listening and watching my video, and if you're interested in subscribing or liking, put your thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below. Thank you so much. And it folds out like that. So the first thing you want, it folds out like that. So the first thing you want